All right, we got I believe it's a 91 Mercedes 300D. We're going to do a brake flush on it. Mercedes recommends doing it every 2 years. And this stuff here in this master cylinder is really dirty, so I think it's been quite a bit longer than 2 years. So we're going to go ahead and flush it out and put new brake fluid in it. I'll show you the way I do it. I use the Harbor Freight kit. It's basically a ripoff of the Mighty Vac kit, and it's use compressed air to suck the fluid out. So I'll get it set up, and we'll start doing it on this. Need a 9mm, I believe it's a 9mm flare wrench to get the leaders cracked open. Hopefully they all crack open. So I'll get you a closer look at this master cylinder and see how dirty the fluid is, and we'll probably suck a little out of there first instead of pulling that all through the system. But you don't want it to go all the way dry, so you got to be careful when you do that. So anyway, I'll get you closer to it. You can see down in there, it's just black. So in these Mercedes, the majority of this master cylinder is for the front brakes, and they have a little, I think, if I remember correctly, they have a real small compartment for the rear brakes. So you gotta be real careful when you're doing this. You don't want the rear to go dry. It can happen really easy, I think, on these Mercedes. If I remember correctly, see, I can't really see on this one. Usually there's a little tiny line right here, and that's just the back compartment. So you got to keep this front full, or you'll run the back dry. So I'm going to go ahead and suck a little bit out of here. I'm not going to go too crazy just because I'm going to take it down to the minimum and try to get some of this dirty stuff out of here. But I'm not going to go all the way down because I don't want that back to go dry and then have to start over. I mean, it wouldn't be a huge deal, but I don't want to take any chances, with running it dry and having to start over. So first thing we'll do is we'll suck a little out of here, and we'll just be mindful of the minimum line right here, make sure we don't go below that, and then we'll start at the rear and start sucking this old fluid out and putting new fluid in it. Hopefully my fill, there's two ways you can do this. You can evacuate the fluid out the back and then keep filling this up. And then on the Harbor Freight kit that I've had for probably 4 or 5 years now, they have a bottle that goes in here and it keeps the fluid full for you, so you have to keep checking it. Alright, so here's my trusty Harbor Freight fluid bottle. It's works off of your air compressor and suction, and I've used it for quite a few things, not just brakes. I actually just did a transmission flush a few months ago and accidentally overfilled it by a half a quart, and I was able to snake this down the tube and suck out what I need to suck out. So it comes in handy for all kinds of different things. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and suck this down to the minimum level and try to get as much of this dirty fluid out as we can without running it completely dry. So just stick it in there and then it should suck it out. There you go. You can see it's coming out. It's not super strong. Actually, my air compressor might be off right now. Yeah, I think my air compressor's off. It's a little bit stronger than that usually, but you can see it's pulling the fluid out. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the air compressor on, let it build up, and then I'll pick it back up. Nobody wants to hear that thing run on a video, so I don't like hearing it run when I'm not in a video. Alright, so you can see here I got the bottle set up. It's a fill bottle. It's got a valve on it. You can turn the fluid on and off. It also has these brackets that you can screw onto it for different size master cylinders. So anyway, I'd already sucked most of that out in this container here, as much as I could without going. I didn't go below that minimum line there. So that got the old fluid out. They got new fluid going in, and this helps you. So when you're back in the back brake, sucking it out, you don't have to keep coming up here and checking it, because we got a large amount going in here, so it keeps it full. you will want to check this once in a while, but not like you would have to if you didn't have this hooked up. So I'm going to go ahead and jack the car up in the back, take the wheels off, and we'll get to the bleeder screws. Should be 9 mil, and I think that's once you get this set up and get the new fluid flowing. And then most cars you want to start at the passenger side rear, then the driver's side rear, then the passenger side front, and then the front. Each car is a little different. I know the Honda Odyssey, they tell you to start at the front left and then go to the front right. But most cars, it's the passenger rear and then driver's rear. You start farthest away, pull the fluid out. The only caveat to that would be, like I said, the Honda Odyssey is a little bit different. Some of the other cars, and then if the ABS unit is in the rear of the car, then you would do the opposite. You would start at the front and then go to the back. So it just depends on the car. Just look it up on your car and figure out which way to go. But 99% of the time, or 95% of the time, it's probably going to be you'll start at the passenger rear and work your way up. It's usually how it goes. But like I said, that's not every time. So just check on your car before you start this. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to pull the rear wheels off, get to the bleeders, and then we'll suck that old fluid out of there and move on to the next wheel. Alright, so we're back here at the rear passenger side, and this is your caliper right here for your brakes. So here's your bleeder screw. Get yourself a 9mm flare-in wrench, break it loose, and then you can just use a regular 9mm to crack it open. And what you want to do is put your line on it from your bleeder and crack it open about a half a turn, and then start sucking all that old fluid out of there. And you'll see it start to get pretty clear, and then you know that you're down to the clean fluid. So just crack it open a little bit. And you shouldn't suck any air as long as, you know, this connection is tight enough. And it is. So just lift your bleeder up, hit the trigger, and then we'll watch this fluid come out of here. Alright, so you just keep doing that for a while. I know that's probably annoying on the camera, the noise. Just keep doing that for a while until the fluid starts to become real clear, and then you can move on to the next wheel. Alright, so by the time you get to the front wheel, your last wheel, this thing should be pretty full, which this one is. I don't know if you can tell on camera, it's almost all the way to the top. Went a little overkill on it. Anyway, the biggest thing about this, just make sure your master cylinder stays full the entire time. With this it should. But I would still double check it, make sure it's keeping up. And this will run your compressor pretty hard. I got a pretty big compressor here, and it basically runs the whole time that thing's on, once it kicks on the first time. So anyway, that's it. See if we can take a look at this fluid now. You can see fluid is nice and clear and clean. It's all flushed out. The main reason why you do this is because brake fluid holds a lot of moisture in it. And over time, it can corrode the inside of your calipers, your brake lines, and all that stuff. So it's good to flush it out. Mercedes says every 2 years on their cars. I mean, everyone's a little bit different, but it's definitely worth doing to prevent your calipers. The pistons in here will get moisture on them, and they'll start rusting out and seize up, and you can have brake line problems, stuff like that. So it's always a good idea to flush this out every once in a while. Every 2-3 years, and it doesn't take too long. As long as you don't run out of fluid on the reservoir, you're good. And the only other thing on these is sometimes, you know, your brake bleeders won't open up and they'll break off, and that could be an issue. But all these open up fine, and got it all flushed out. It's good to go. So anyway, that's just a short video. There's other ways to do it. You can do it manually with another person and have someone pump the brake, and then, you know, you open the bleeder and then close it and then pump it. The problem with something like that on this is this is an older car. It's a 91, and I wouldn't feel comfortable pumping that master cylinder that much with those longer strokes, because you're gonna, once the pedal goes to the floor, that stroke is going to go farther than it has in a long time. That can tear up your seals and stuff, especially an older master cylinder. So it's not really worth it to me to take a chance on that when there's other alternatives. This is a pretty good, like I said, I've been using this thing about 4 or 5 years now, and I've never had a problem with it. It's done everything pretty well for me. So, and that's the Harbor Freight brake bleeder kit. Anyway, I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but it is a good kit if you want to do this type of work. So that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I got a few other things I need to look at in this car real quick. And then I got my engine I got to go pick up for an engine swap on Toyota. So I got a lot of stuff to do today. Hopefully I get some of it done. I appreciate you watching the channel. Please subscribe and check us out on Facebook. Or if you're on Facebook, check us out on YouTube, vice versa. And I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.